Here we go, guys. It's fight night. It's finally here. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Benn. It's been years in the making for this fight to happen. Finally, we're going to see who wins this legacy fight. Early on in their careers as well. A legacy fight so early on. Now, we'll break down the card, the whole card, and then we'll shoot over to the main event, and then I'll hand over to Raw. But most importantly as well, how do you guys see it? How do you guys see this fight going down? So, we'll start with Vidal Riley versus Chev Clark. Great contest. I think both people have been respectful to each other during this contest. Very similar in their fight careers as well. It's a tough one to call this one because they're so evenly matched, aren't they? I am leaning towards, though, a Vidal Riley win. I think he'll win on points. I don't think either man will stop each other, but I think it'll be a points win. It may even be a split decision, but I'm going to go Vidal Riley on points. We're now going to head over to, again, the cruiserweight division where Chris Smith takes on Brandon Glanton, the American. Brandon's been quite brash this week. He's been, in people's faces. Chris has maintained his composure. He hasn't actually risen to any of the shenanigans. I think it'll be a good fight. I think I'm leaning towards Chris Smith. I know he's coming back off a loss. He does want to get back into world title contention. I think it will be a points win for Chris Smith. We're then going to head over to Liam Smith versus Aaron McKenna. And again, with this one as well, Aaron McKenna's a great talent. He's a hard hitter, but I think Liam Smith will be just far too experienced. He's boxed at world level. He's been a world champion as well. He knows all the tricks of the trade. For that reason, I think it's going to be a Liam Smith points win as well. And there we go. Then we move on to Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yarde, or Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthur. So it's a cracking fight. It's going to be the who decider. To be fair, Anthony Yarde's won. Lyndon Arthur's 1-1, so this is the decider, the trilogy. Who would have thought as well? These guys are going to be fighting a third time. They know each other so well in the ring, out the ring. I think Anthony Yarde will just have enough just to do it. To be fair, I'm going towards Anthony Yarde late stoppage for that one. But we're in for a great fight, and then we go into the main event. Years in the making: Chris Eubank Jr. versus Benn. Wow, what an interesting fight week we've covered as well. And what an interesting fight week in the press conference, the weigh-in, the rehydration, the weight loss, the weight cut, the back and forth between everybody. Chris Eubank Sr. not being there as well. Loads of controversy leading up to the fight as well, the egg. But we're finally here now as well. Now this is going to be an absolute... the fight fans win. I think this is going to be an absolute classic. How do I see this fight going down? I've already made a prediction last week on this as well. And I'm leaning towards, if I'm being honest, a late stoppage for Benn, purely because I think that the weight cut from Chris Eubank Jr., that will have an effect. His father not being there, that may have an effect as well. Benn is the younger, the fresher man. He looks in fantastic shape as well. Not to say that Chris Eubank Jr. isn't. He looks in good shape too. Chris Eubank Jr. on playing devil's advocate. He's boxed at the higher level. He's had more fights. He's been more active as well. So one thing I will predict, I think it'll be a tough fight for both men. I think it'll be a lot of back and forth, some very close rounds. It'll be a bloody affair as well. But I think Conor in the later rounds will get to Chris, and that will be the decider. There's talks of a rematch after this as well. But let's see what happens. Raw, how do you see this one going down?
So final predictions, having been to the weigh-in yesterday, I can make my final assessment, starting with the cruiserweight fight between Chris Smith and Brandon Glanton. I think it's a very bad fight for Chris Smith, coming off a resounding defeat to Thordo Ramirez, going straight in with a world level operator. Although Glanton's not well known, I think he's coming off that great win in Russia. Very underrated, stopped the guy who'd only ever been the distance, I think, with Gullamirian. So I think he's a fighter on the up, and sadly Liam Smith might be on the way down. So although they've got identical records, I think Brandon Glanton's going to win this one by late stoppage. The other cruiserweight fight next, between Riley and Chev Clark. At the press conference, Riley said something quite profound. He said he missed his wave, that is referring to Clark. And I think he might be right. He's another fighter that stayed in the amateurs for too long, turned pro late. Also coming off a defeat, Riley, 27, at the peak of his powers, and a very good technical grounding from the amateurs. I think Riley will win this one on points. As for the middleweight fight between Liam Smith and Aaron McKenna, again, it's the superior skill and experience of Smith against McKenna. But again, I'm inclined to think age is going to catch Smith at the wrong time. He has not looked convincing in a number of fights. So I'm going for an Aaron McKenna stoppage late. Then we've got the light heavyweight fight between Anthony Yarde and Lyndon Arthur. Fight quite ridiculed as a fight not needed. Nevertheless, we've got it. I'm going against the grain here as well. Yarde looked unconvincing last time. And although Arthur himself hasn't looked great, I think he has a style which ages better. I think Yarde, being very dependent on athleticism and reflexes, that'll cost him now in his 30s, especially against someone like Arthur, who is technically sound. So as long as Arthur is fully motivated for this, I think he will outmaneuver Yarde, stay a step ahead, and win a points decision. And finally, coming to the main event, my view actually hasn't changed. I thought the weight cut and the rehydration clause will cost Eubank dearly, and having seen the weigh-in, more convinced than ever. So I am keeping with my original prediction of a Conor Benn stoppage after the halfway stage, and I think Eubank will rue signing up to the weight clauses for this fight. So those are my predictions for tonight.